to manage the suffering in the world? Well, fortunately, it's not actually our job to do that. Which is really important, and I don't say that in a blasé sort of way. I say that in a real way. Until and unless someone has come down and has said to you, okay, you are now in charge, you're not in charge. That doesn't mean that we're not all supposed to do as much as we possibly can in the areas that we can impact and influence. That is our job. As far as my impact, as far as my influence can go, I need to use that. But we're not in charge of the whole world. And it feels like that sometimes. Sometimes you turn on the news, you turn on the internet, you open a paper, and it hits us as though really, I've got to figure out what to do. How can I get up and move through my world when the world is in this situation? But really the truth is that not only can none of us actually manage the whole world, but the sense of overwhelm that comes from trying to take on the whole world renders you much less able to be impactful or effective in the part that you actually do have the ability to impact. We can't manage the whole world. What we have to manage is ourselves. And actually, ironically, if everyone simply managed themselves, the world wouldn't need our managing. It's lack of people taking responsibility for themselves. It's lack of people managing themselves that requires us to manage the whole world. And I don't mean the people who are in trouble. I don't mean the homeless people. I don't mean the poor people. I mean the people who are making decisions, including, amazingly, us, in, sure, somewhat more subtle ways than government officials may be making decisions. But we also make decisions every day. What we eat, what we buy, what we wear, how we live, that have ripple effects on everything on the planet. That have ripple effects on hunger, ripple effects on thirst, ripple effects on the deforestation of the Amazon, ripple effects on global warming. So if everyone actually managed themselves, there wouldn't be anything to manage. But given where we currently are, I think the key is a couple of fold. Number one, recognizing that you cannot possibly fix everything, but not letting that make you feel dejected or depressed. Rather, simply doing as much as you possibly can. There's a beautiful Hindi poem that Pujya Swamiji recites sometimes, the English translation of which basically is, we can't clear the entire garden of thorns, but at least whatever pathway we're walking, as we walk, we're able to clear that pathway. So it's not, well, either it's got to be everything or it's nothing. Either I'm going to have a magic wand to fix the world, or I'm just going to sit here on my couch and get drunk, or, just read novels or watch TV or check out in some way from the world. It's not an either or situation. Because again, remember, there's a ripple effect. Remember, we're all deeply, deeply, deeply connected. What the sages and the saints and the rishis told us thousands of years ago about our interconnection. Quantum physics today is talking about. Right? You have to get into a little bit of the esoteric readings, but you start reading about things like string theory. Okay, now this is now hard science. This is not spirituality. This is not New Age. This is not a yoga institute. This is not, I had a meditation and in my meditation it was revealed that. This is hard science. String theory. There are actually energetic strings in the world. Shake a part of it over there, it's going to shake over there. Just as if you and I held on to opposite ends of a string and I shook mine over here, you'd feel it over there. Pull it here, you're going to feel it there. And this is where, for example, as species that may seem sweet and even beautiful, but globally irrelevant, like certain species of bees or certain species of butterflies, you know what I mean? The species of insects, you think, well, all right, that's sad, but really, what does it matter? The truth is, it matters a lot. It matters a lot in ways that we cannot even imagine. Because that species of bee or butterfly is connected to this end of the string, the other end of which is our survival. And I share this with you because you should never think what I'm doing is not enough. Each of us has been given, and we continue to be given as we grow, as we move through the world, as we dedicate ourselves, as we commit, as we learn. Skills and tools and abilities. They're not all the same, either quantitatively or qualitatively, but we each have them. And each of them has a ripple impact on the world. And so rather than holding your head in despair at the unmanageable state of the world, the question is, what strings are connected to me? I may not know what's on the other end of them. I may have no idea where those ripples go. Some of them we do know. One of the things we talk about very frequently in here is vegetarianism, for example. Well, the end of the string of what I eat is world hunger. The end of the string of what I eat is deforestation of the Amazon. The end of the string of what I eat is global warming. But a lot of things are not quite that obvious. And really it doesn't matter. All that matters is I'm doing my part on this end of the string. And the other aspect of it is to stay involved, but to stay involved in a way that is peaceful. Your upset, your aggression, your frustration, your awareness that this is unmanageable doesn't actually help anybody. When you're grounded and you're peaceful, that's when you're able to not only spread peace, which of course is great, but it's actually when you're able to connect with what the universe needs. If anybody's ever tried to think really well when you're stressed out or upset or overwhelmed, this is the time we can't even remember where we put down our keys, let alone figure out what to do about poverty or climate change or women's rights. I mean, I don't know where I left my car in the parking lot. So what kind of an agent of positive change am I possibly going to be able to be in the world when I'm so flustered that I don't even know where I am? And that's the reason that we need to stay grounded and that we need to stay peaceful. Because actually then we can be positive agents. I remember I'd been here, less than a year, and Pujya Swamiji took me to see a group of schools that were in a slum area outside of Delhi. And it was horrendous. I mean, I had seen movies, but it's very different to see something in a movie and to see it in real life. And I've always been deeply committed to children. I was doing pediatric neuropsychology. My goal was to help children who were suffering. And we spent the day visiting 10 different schools that were just the most abysmal of the abysmal. They were shacks. I mean, they weren't even schools. They were schools in that there was a teacher and there were kids. But beyond that, there were, some plywood sheets maybe. Maybe there was some fabric. Maybe there was some tin. Maybe there was, someone's old sari. There was never electricity. There were never actual floors or roofs. And we had been called there because the people who were running these 10 schools didn't even have the money to keep them going at the standard they were. They didn't even have the money to give the teachers anymore. And so they had come to Puja Swamiji to see whether he'd be prepared to adopt these schools and maybe even, by his grace, better them. So he took me and we went to see them. And in the evening, and I held it together all day, just literally sort of digging my fingernails into my hand and biting my tongue and clenching my jaw. And we get back to our Delhi ashram, and it's dinner time. And I'm sobbing. I mean, hysterically, like I can't breathe. I'm sobbing. And I say, I can't eat dinner. How can I possibly eat dinner? I mean, these kids, my God, they don't have any dinner. How can I possibly eat dinner? This is so horrible. And Puja Swamiji looks at me and he says, are your tears helping them? And you have to know him to understand that this is not sarcasm. This is not rudeness. This is just truth. Here it is. Let's call it what it is. Let's look at what it is. Here it is. Are your tears helping them? And I said, no, but oh my God, the kids. And he looked at me and he said, your tears are only helping yourself. He said, your tears make you feel like you're a really compassionate person. Your tears are, make you feel like, here you are crying for these kids and you're so connected to these kids and aren't you so sensitive and, all of these things. He said, but your tears aren't actually helping them. He said, if you really want to help them, eat your dinner, go to sleep, and get up tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock in the morning and start figuring out how you're going to raise enough money to adopt all 10 of these schools. And I love that story because it's just such a clear teaching on where my emotional reaction to the unmanageableness ends, and my stepping into being an agent in whatever way it may be of change begins. And for a lot of us, that which is going on feels so big and so overwhelming and so unmanageable, which is really why, if you need to start taking news in doses, small doses, do it. That's not cutting yourself off from the world. It's literally taking in as much as you can digest. There's lots of things that are good for us, lots of things that are important for us, but you take in too many and you end up with a stomach ache. Literally. Take it in doses. And particularly take in that which maybe in some way you can impact. Maybe in some way your string is connected to it. As you move through the world, how can I serve? How can I be a vehicle? How can I be a vessel? In what way can I be used? And just start opening yourself up to that. And it may not be huge things. You may not found an NGO that ends up, winning the, some big humanitarian award someday. But it doesn't matter. As you move through the world, you're going to be given opportunities every hour, every day, to be an agent of change and peace. Okay? And lastly, just remember, of course, that have faith. There is a plan, which means there's a planner. Doesn't mean that it's been planned like this. We've been given free will. We're seeing in many tragic cases the end result of free will gone awry. But nonetheless, there's a planner. And the planner is benevolent and good and divine. And so my faith is that if we can just step back enough, there's a lot that looks like incredible chaos when it's smack up in your face, including some of the world's most beautiful artwork. Stand too close to it, it's chaos. Step back enough, and you're able to see what it means and even sometimes the beauty.